There's a lot of talk about Israel as Silicon Valley and as a startup nation, but could this little country also be a global financial center? We're joined now by Tal Keinan, an American-born Israeli entrepreneur, financier, and the founder and CEO of investment management firm KCPS Clarity, for a discussion on Israel's financial potential. Mr. Keinan, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So you're a leading proponent of Israel as a global financial center. What does it exactly mean, and why do you believe that Israel is well positioned to be a global financial center?
Right, so I think the meanings can be quite broad, and I'm definitely aware of a lot of the kind of criticism of the notion of Israel as a financial center, and that it will be difficult to become a hub of corporations and other entities seeking funding through public markets, as London and New York are. But I think there's a much broader definition of what a financial center is. If you look at Switzerland, which has been a banking hub for generations, people do not go to Switzerland in any big numbers in order to seek financing in public markets. So when I look at Israel, I think the market will determine what Israel ends up being as a financial center. It will happen, at the very least for asset management, which is what we do.
Yeah.
I think there are brokerage firms that are...
is this a good thing, though? I mean, financial centers, like one of the topics that we generally cover here is inequality and rising inequality in the world. Now, being a global financial center presumably will come with growing inequality. Is that a fear we should have?
No, I say we need to address inequality in Israel not by tamping down the top earners in the Israeli economy, but by bringing up the bottom earners in the Israeli economy. I think in general, increasing Israel's export base and its export diversification should definitely be on the economic agenda for Israel. And if you look at the ways we can do that, we're not going to compete on inexpensive labor in Israel against markets like North Africa or some of Asia. We're not going to compete on agricultural land or anything like that. We compete on mines. It's the same model as the technology industry.
Yet part of the theory behind Israel as a global financial center is essentially positioning Israel as, say, the Singapore of the Middle East. I mean, can you kind of give more illustration of that, how that would work? What exactly are the benefits here?
Right. So I think benefit number one is talent density, and it's exactly the attribute that has served the technology industry so spectacularly over the last 20 years in Israel. What we have here is unmatched. I don't think it exists anywhere else in the world. Again, we saw the numbers in technology, and these are two industries that are based entirely on that. I mean, there is nothing else in financial services. So that is, I think, what we bring to the table. When we, as a firm, speak with clients around the world who have nothing to do with Israel and for whom we manage portfolios that also have nothing to do with Israel, the clincher is talent density, the ability to really harness incredible talent.
Does the government recognize this, and does the government also support this concept, this notion of Israel as a global financial center?
Yeah. So I say that the government has done a lot. Financial reforms that were enacted in 2005, I think, were the key to allowing this whole industry to emerge. And then there was the Ariav Commission, on which we served in the years after that, which has done a lot, I think, to promote this. Short answer, it will happen with or without the government at this point. The government has really done the steps it needs to take. It could be accelerated if that kind of became an agenda item. I would say it should be.
Okay, now, so let's look at, for example, a country like Cyprus, which probably until recently, until the financial crisis, might have been perfectly positioned for this kind of situation. I mean, politically, we're not necessarily in a situation where it's, so thinkable for the average Westerner, at least looking at the news, that we would be the hub of the Middle East. Why wouldn't it be Qatar? Why wouldn't it be a different place?
Sure. So I think the short answer is the Cypriot model is very much the Cayman Islands model or the Bermuda model, which is let's create a very tax-light or tax-free regime in order to encourage people to custody capital here or do things like that. That's not at all the Israeli model. I think what Israel does, what Israel can do in financial services is a lot like tech. And for the same reasons you didn't see technology emerge in Cyprus is one example. I think a much more potent example is Abu Dhabi. Or if you look at all the Gulf states that invested billions of dollars in trying to create technology hubs, that didn't really work. And I think the real notion is you have a homegrown base of talent density in Israel that you just don't see anywhere else.
Okay, well, one last word because we're going to have to go pretty soon. I mean, is this happening right now, as you said? I mean, Israel is in the process of becoming this financial center?
Right. We don't have an industry per se. There are a few firms, very few firms that actually export investment management services, some who do brokerage.
Right.
Stay tuned.
Okay. Well, Tal Keinan, CEO of KCPS Clarity, thank you very much for joining us at the Economy Show. That takes us to the end of this edition of the Economy Magazine. I'm Benjamin Chong-Lafaris at I-24 News. Please continue to watch us and send us your comments and join us again tomorrow for more.